Last week, the Full Send Sims Esports iRacing Spec Miatas fought to survive in the bull ring at Lime Rock Park, the road racing center of the East. Tonight, though, we shift to the Midwest and America's National Park of Speed. At a distance of almost 3 Lime Rocks, rising and falling and turning through the glacially carved hills and ravines of the beautiful Kettle Moraine Forest, the track is, without question, a beast. As such, it engenders personal nicknames from its devout fans. Keeping the beast idea in mind, my co-host Kyle Heyer likes the Jurassic Park of Speed. Fitting indeed. I prefer America's Nürburgring, an homage to the grandest of them all. But whatever you like to call it, in the Spec Miatas of the Full Send Sim series, never will the phrase full send be more apropos. Huge amounts of time at full throttle, flat or near flat through some of the most iconic corners in North American motorsport, and all taken in a drafting train that forces those outside of the top 3 to execute perfectly while driving through 5 or more windshields. To win here is to do so the old-fashioned way. You earn it. Hi folks, I'm Greg Creamer, and along with Kyle, welcome to Round 7 of 2024's first season in the glorious Road America. And Kyle, whether for virtual racing, real-world racing, or just to play tourist, any visit to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin is, in a word, pretty special.
It's a special place. This is one of my favorite racetracks in the country. It is enormous. It demands respect, much in a way that Lime Rock does. The track looks simpler than it actually is. It's very point and shoot, lots of heavy braking zones. But this track, as Tom O'Gorman says, it's like 2 different beasts on one half versus the other. That first sector, really up to turn 5, is all power and brakes. But after turn 6, Greg, it gets incredibly complex from 7, 8, 9 into the carousel, into that kink, and into Canada Corner. It is an amazing racetrack, but you have to be on it, because if you slip up in the slightest bit, just like last week, it will bite.
It will bite, and it will kill your momentum. But in the real world, it can be a huge crash, and the focus is so intense because the speeds here are so high. And in the Spec Miatas, as I said, you are flat chat for so much of it. I mean, look at this. You've got from turn 14 all the way up the hill into turn 1, 3 down to 5, and Kyle, through the carousel and all the way to Canada Corner. It's just blindingly fast.
It's so incredibly quick. Canada Corner, I think, might be one of the most beautiful corners in the world. It's just one of my favorite places. Up through Bill Mitchell Bend, that used to be where you'd cross into the racetrack. A big bridge abutment there meant that had to be removed after a couple of bad accidents. Now there's a tunnel between turns 13 and 14, and it's that long climb up the front straightaway. That's where you're going to win or lose this race tonight, on that climb from turn 14 to the stripe.
Yeah, and the one thing you're going to notice, too, look at going into turn 3, particularly into 5, down into 8, even a little bit into Canada Corner, heavily downhill braking zones, 4, 3, 5, and 8. That makes it really tricky because you don't have gravity helping slow you down. So you're braking into and through those corners is treacherous. And then here is a look at the carousel. More than 180 degrees, Kyle. It truly folds back on itself, but it is such a long corner, and all you do is build speed, and then you have to deal with the kink.
The kink, this corner, you look at it and it looks simple on paper. It's just a little right-hand bend, but a little right-hand bend that demands the utmost respect. In the real world there on the right, there is tire marks and marks from cars smashing into it at 120 miles an hour plus. Even in a little Spec Miata, this is a treacherous corner. The first time I ever drove any race car on any track, it was a Spec Miata here at Road America. And let me tell you, it was a braking zone the first couple of times. You work up to it, Greg, but I don't think it ever gets less scary, especially on a limit or an inclement weather.
No, especially in those conditions. The biggest wreck I ever saw, the first really huge wreck I ever saw, was Bernard Jourdain in the kart Indy cars. I was flagging at the kink, and he lost it on the way in. And it's just massive. So it's just all about speed at this place, and that's why that America's National Park, or Jurassic Park of Speed, is so key here. And it's just a joyous place, whether to drive, whether to spectate. It's beautiful here. And the guy who was fastest in practice has gone to the top again, Skip Brock Jr. I think this may be the first time we've seen him outright top a session.
Yeah, it's still early in the session here, just one lap put in, but 2:42.877, that's 0.3 quicker than Camden Hibbett, Olivier Piatek, and Morgan Burkhardt. Is there time to get knocked off the top spot? Absolutely, but that's good. Bodes well for the 32, I'd say. But a handful of drivers are here tonight making their return, including one that was a highlight at Watkins Glen. That's Cam Eben in the number 155, Greg. He was an amazing talent, as we predicted, but he's a wild card anytime he drops in these races.
Oh, he is, and you've got to believe with that last name, he has got laps around here, and he feels this place is one that everybody should be following him. So it's going to be fun to watch Cam get after it here. But tell you what, we've had plenty of players. And, what's been interesting to see, hasn't it, with Morgan Burkhardt, after he really didn't have the time and the focus because of real-world racing commitments to get his head into those first couple of rounds. He started way behind the 8-ball points-wise, and then he's starting to come on again. Last couple of races, he's been right at the front, winning, in fact, and doing a great job. And it's really added now that little come-from-behind element here. In the points, it's Nicholas Rice-Puto and Jordan Rixagrini are sort of separating themselves from everybody else here as we just click past the halfway point here, trying to make this a mano-a-mano battle. But, Morgan said in the interviews after our previous race at Lime Rock, he said, this championship isn't done yet.
It's certainly not done yet. It was one of the tracks on the schedule, as Morgan runs a bit wide there at Canada Corner. This is one of the tracks on the schedule that I think can overturn some of the momentum that Morgan Burkhardt is gaining. Think back here, I don't know if it was last season or the season prior, but Morgan Burkhardt had a tough tail end to a couple of these races, and so did some others.
He did.
There was a handful of drivers that got caught up in last lap wrecks because it's so physical here, so much hip and shoulder on that final lap. Leaving things to this last straightaway, you're going to be banging fenders up the hill. Leave it to Canada Corner. We've seen cars in the gravel here time and time again. So staying out of trouble is just as important as it is to be up front battling. But even there, it won't save you.
Absolutely, and then add in, of course, it isn't quite like a Daytona or maybe even a Homestead B, but the draft here on these long straights really is crucial and key for fast laps in qualifying, but also being in the battle to win. And a lot of people like that last lap. It just stopped. And they were all pretty decent laps, but Skip Rock, that 2:42.8, that was a serious lap right from the off.
Yeah, it was a really great lap. And having a look at the track temperature, it's over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 108. I'm surprised that drivers were dropping off that quickly to go again, especially because you burn so much time on an out lap here. These lap times are nearly 2 minutes and 45 seconds around, Greg. So you're going to add 15 or 20 seconds to that for an out lap. I'm not exactly sure why, but maybe having brand new fresh tires is the name of the game tonight.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is this long track here, you can get tires up to temp for a one-lap flyer after one lap if you warm them up right. It's long enough, and if you really charge things the right way, you can get those tires nice and heated up. But as you said, anytime you make a call in the pits here with not a lot of time left in qualifying, I love Hayden Manis's graphics there, the pepperoni. Well, you know what? It is Sargento country, and that sure looks like a Wisconsin pizza, so it plays well.
I didn't realize that there was either a distribution facility or a factory pretty much right around the corner from the racetrack. They are not kidding.
Oh, yeah.
When made in Wisconsin. That's not a joke. It's literally right around the corner.
And you gotta love it's Wisconsin, and yes, there's a bridge at this track named after cheese.
Yes, and it's been there for a long time. I actually learned that the Corvette Bridge up at Turn 6 is one of the longest running racetrack sponsorship deals. It only didn't exist for a couple of years when it was, I think Toyota had it for a few years in the early to mid 2000s, but that Corvette Bridge has been sponsored by a Corvette brand for all but a few years from 1955 essentially onwards. So that is a pretty cool sight to behold there that still stands.
Well, and I'll tell you what, if you're a newer fan to racing and or to Road America here, the videos, and if you ever get a chance to come, mid-July is their big historic event, and seeing Corvettes from the late 50s and other cars from that era, the old Scarab sports cars and the like that Augie Paps used to run, seeing them running here, it's one of the tracks, Kyle, where it just literally transports you in time right back to that era, because other than concrete and catch fencing, this is the one track from that very early era where the track layout is absolutely, other than being repaved, remains completely unchanged. They haven't carved anything. When they got rid of the Billy Mitchell Bridge, put the tunnel in, They left that track, that blind approach, everything exactly as it was. And so this is stepping back in time. When you see those old cars come here, it's got such a rich history.
I had heard a story, and maybe you can corroborate this, but I had heard a story that the track, it's actually quite narrow in some parts, especially on the front straightaway here. And the width was actually just 2 passes of what a common paving machine paved back in the day. They did 2 strips of asphalt side by side, called it good. And 4 miles around, it probably wasn't cheap to pave either.
Absolutely, and that's exactly right. It was absolutely that narrow, and obviously, more recent management has widened some of that out. But that narrowness of that front straight, I was talking about that great historic race in the what they call the historic Trans Am and GTO category, where you find those glorious old Trans Am cars, the old Boss Mustangs and the Javelins, and the early Sunoco, Camaros, and other type cars of that era, wiped out about 8 or 10 of the finest examples of those cars in a start line crash here at Road America, because 2 cars touched, one went right to that wall, and chaos ensued. And so, there's lots of different places. This track has challenges. And we, had that great shot of the Corvette bridge up into Turn 6. Turn 6, to me, is one of the most underrated, least talked about, super tricky corners in all of North American motorsports. You come up to the top and you've got to brake. You're cresting that little rise. The car gets light. If you go in a little bit too hot, you lock up. You go straight off the outside. If you overslow as a result, then you are slow all the way down to the overtaking area here in Turn 8. So it is a corner of big consequence, and getting through that corner really well can pay huge dividends, as we said, down there in Turn 8.
It's also a trouble spot, for overtakes,
Yes.
because of all the reasons you already mentioned. My last official race, other than the Daytona 24 in iRacing, was actually here in a Porsche 911 992 Cup car, and it invites drivers to dive up there because it's a nice right-angle turn, like so many are here at Road America. You think you can make a pass up there, but as you come over that crest, the car gets light, as you mentioned, lock up the tires, and then you'll get run into. Ask me how I know.
Yeah.
And it really is a challenging turn.
The old personal experience thing.
yeah, that too.
Yep.
But this one's harder than. I also want to point out Turn 14, the final turn here at Road America, because it's a lot longer than it looks at first glance. You have to apex pretty late to straighten out the exit and get that all-important run up the hill to the start line. And let me tell you, this is going to be that critical corner in the last lap of both our 20-minute races tonight. Whoever gets this corner the most correct is going to win the race.
Yeah, and sometimes it requires that thing that's anathema to most race car drivers, patience. And if you're catching the guy coming into 14, and you've even if you've got a nice run, to just give it up, don't try and pass him going in, and use that run to square it up a little bit, get a good drive out. That will give you a better chance at the win. And it's just tough to dial that back, as once again we see the Barbie car of Jose de las Casas. And I was going to point out, I was at the Concourse Club for their in-house racing series, and one of the drivers had his car in what he called a Barbenheimer livery, half Barbie, half Oppenheimer, as a sort of a little bit of a tribute to the 2 Oscar-nominated movies. So Jorge's in front of himself here, Jose de las Casas is. But as we get down near the end of this, I'd seen Jordan Rixagrini jump in front of Camden Hibbett, but Rice Puto and then Morgan Burkhardt right at the end, Kyle, 0.21, jumps to the pole over Nicholas Rice Puto, both of whom had slipped by Skip Brock.
Yeah, perhaps that's no surprise to see Morgan Burkhardt up top, but it's going to be a lot harder to hang on to it.
Yes.
And I think we've seen the setup changes make such a significant difference, along with all the drivers getting closer and closer season after season, Greg. I think it's going to be harder than ever for Morgan Burkhardt just to win one here, especially with that draft being ever so more effective.
Yeah, absolutely. And, look at where how the starting lineup's going to be. You're looking at scoring here. Morgan has 2 non-team cars between himself and Jordan Rixagrini and Camden Hibbett. We haven't seen that for a while, have we? So this is an opportunity for those guys to keep the teammates from working an effective escape, and and we'll see what they're going to be able to do about it.
Yeah, we have a full pace lap to warm up the tires, and I'm not sure how much warmer they need to get. 109 degrees Fahrenheit is pretty toasty down there. That rubber will be sticky by the time they finish that lap. We'll roll off the starting grid once cars start rolling here, Greg, but 20 minutes, it's only about 8 laps. So if you have a corner that you're not doing too well at, you only have to do it 8 times, but all 8 will be very consequential.
Oh, every one of them will be. There's no question about it, because you think about it: 14 leads into an uphill, 3 leads into one of the longest straights, 8 leads into the carousel. I mean, everything here is somehow connected. And speaking of connected, you need to be connected to a fabulous sim, and the best way to do that, check out Full Send Sims. Court Wagner, I'm sorry. Well, he's been driving as well as Court Wagner lately, so well done, Court. Court has done an absolutely amazing job taking his real-world racing knowledge and combining it with his military sim training and building these incredible full-send sims. And we've seen time and again that practice does make podium. Sims of every basically a price point, and you can go from something fairly basic all the way up to a full 4-post shaker with all of that in it through Full Send Sims. And of course, we've had great presenting sponsors from the very early stages of this championship. 3P Logistics, tailored trackside support, race car storage, maintenance, repair, transportation. Final Turn Motorsports, front-running chassis builder, and it's partnered with the best engine builders in the Spec Miata class, and Wine Country Motorsports as well. Just an absolutely fabulous source for pretty much anything you need in terms of racing safety equipment. And they say the best customer service in the business. They'll answer the phone when most of their internet friends won't. And so just keep that in mind. Also remember, great prizes, top 3 at the end of each season, get beautiful trophies. But if you haven't won one of the hardware awards in the same calendar year, and you're not a Full Send Sim admin or instructor, you can win a Samsung 49-inch ultra-wide monitor if you place first or highest of those that haven't won yet. P2 would be a Butt Kicker Gamer Plus. P3, a Logitech G Pro X gaming headset. So there's some pretty serious trophies out there in the messages. Even if you're not in that top 1 or 2, keep going, because a 5th or a 6th might well get you one of those absolutely fabulous hardware things. And remember, Full Send Sims Racing Schools, we'll be talking more about that in a little bit. One-on-one instructions available as well. So Full Send Sims providing you every tool in the kit to be very good in virtual racing and to be able to take all that training to the track and win there.
Starting lineup here from Road America for the Full Send Sim Spec Miata Series. It's going to kick off with Morgan Burkhardt in the number 40. Stole pole away at the last possible opportunity. Nicholas Rice-Sputo having a great season. He's got those elbows out. He rolls off second.
He does, sitting in the points lead by a scant 7 right now over the guy who'll start 4th, Jordan Ricks-Greeny in the 108. Inside, though, will be Skip Brock starting 3rd. Great qualifying effort in that number 32.
Camden Hibbett rolls off 5th in the number 132. Olivier Piatek in the bright green car starts 6th in the 62.
In the 7th spot will be the 777 of Josh Soto, and in the 8th spot, the 195 of Nathan Nicholson, who's been really quick when he's been here.
James Newell starts 9th in the number 123. Cam Eben was stout at Watkins Glen. We'll see how he does tonight. 10th in the 155.
Starting 11th will be the 110 of Giancarlo Schooler, always fast, and Deacon Greenfield, who's had great turns of speed, just needs a nice clean race. He's starting 12th in the number 20.
13th place, Jack Murchison in the number 25. Andrew Rosencroft rolls off 14th in the number 80.
Starting 15th in the 91 will be Andrew Gilliland. Starting in the 16th spot, the 172 of Court Schmidt-Wagner.
17th place, Dean Dahl in the number 99. Jamison Huffman starts 18th in the 37.
Starting 19th, the 133 of Michael Lauren. Starting in the 20th spot, a rear-world winner recently here, Trace Hance in the 53.
21st place, Hayden Manis in the number 65. Ayrton Grimm starts 22nd in the 121.
Starting 23rd will be the 22 of Rich Green. Starting 24th, the 72 of Jordan Butler.
And 25th place, Seth Spolman in the 042. Richard Sawicki starts 26th in the 528.
Starting 27th, the 54 of Ray Bleffin. Starting in the 28th spot, the number 50 of Stephen Bleffin.
And 29th place, Jim Friedhofer in the 89. Greg Ginsberg starts 30th in the number 7.
Starting 31st, the number 221 of Charles Vaccaro. Starting 32nd, the number 1 of Jose de las Casas.
Luke Law rolls off 33rd in the 941. Max Bankin in the 00 starts on the outside of row 17.
Starting 35th, the number 16 of Christian Rice-Sputo. Starting 36th, the 201 of Colin Weiss.
And that is the entire field that will be rolling off and taking the green flag here tonight. Pace car is going to peel off to driver's right on that long uphill climb to the flag stand. 20 minutes, 8 laps on the calendar for tonight for race 1. We'll have one right after this and conclude the 7th round of the Full Send Sims Spec Miata Series. Here they come up the hill, Greg, and it's a long wait before they get that green.
Long wait to crest this little rise and see the green. And remember, turn 1, extremely fast and incredibly inviting. Barney waves it, we're green. And right from the off, little bit of an easing ahead by Morgan Burkhardt in front of Rice Budo. Now, the question is, who's going to give who a shove here by the time we get down into turn 1? Couple of cars starting from pit lane, and it's going to be Burkhardt, but Rice Budo coming across the nose of Skip Brock, and behind them we've got him 3 abreast. And wow, I saw Andrew Wozenkopf. I would have thought he'd go off. He didn't. He stayed with it here. I think that was Cam Evan who ran wide.
And the 80 gets together with Hayden Manis, who's going to be in the dirt through turn 3. That'll be trouble. And he's going to keep it off to the inside. That was very well done, and pull back on the road in 18th place. Otherwise, we keep them all straight through the first couple corners.
Yeah, that was an impressive save by Hayden, and again, avoiding that dangerous re-entry. And everybody continues at this point, and you can see in the background some of the cars that are working their way from pit lane right now. But up front, it's Burkhardt, Rice Budo, but Jordan Rixagrini was able to, along with Olivier Piatek, got around on Camden Hibbett. So teammate Rixagrini 1 spot closer to Burkhardt.
And up the hill towards turn 6. Still so far so good. This is a nice clean start, all things considered. Skip Brock Jr. on the outside of Nathan Nicholson in the 195, who we saw for the first time last week at Lime Rock Park. They're going to shuffle back into line. Turn 7 is really fast, and you're kind of on the limit there, so you can't really run through there side by side. But in the background, I saw Court Schmidt doing just that alongside Michael Lauren in the 133.
Yeah, you need to really have trust in whoever you're running side by side through turn 7. It's an off-camber, fall-away, high-speed sweeper. Another one of those corners that really doesn't get enough discussion here. But having a look here, this great battling going on 37. You know, that's in a small car. That's a really, really good line through that corner. You know, turn in a little wide and just get down to the inside. A lot of people like to just keep it right tight to the inside, run the shortest line through the carousel you can, and then get ready for that fabulous kink. And look at this, Rice Budo, even though it's not a teammate, he's pushing hard right now, trying to, let's get away from everybody here and settle this one.
Yeah, good luck with that at Road America. It's hard to break
exactly.
away. It's going to be all hands on deck here, but they have gotten themselves a bit of a gap. I just am skeptical that they can grow it much beyond a couple of car lengths. As long as everyone in behind plays the same game, that's a challenge in itself. Court Schmidt's a little slow leaving Canada corner. I'm not sure that he was off track, but maybe he got a slowdown somewhere. Here's a look into Canada corner.
Let's watch here. Real tight to the inside. Yeah, a little touch there. And nice job to save it, but obviously lost a ton of momentum.
So, lap 1 complete, and Rice Budo continues to push Morgan Burkhardt down the front straightaway and into turn 1. And a little side-by-side deeper in the field. I think that is John Carlos Schooler following the 77 of Josh Soto, who's making pretty good progress so far.
Yeah, and Dean Greenfield right behind them. And as I said, we've seen him being so quick. And if he can just get a really good, clean race, a lot of times it hasn't been his incident. He's been collected, but let's see what he can put together here. And let's see now, Skip, now that things have settled a little bit, he's dropped all the way back behind Nicholson into that 6th spot. And that lead group of 4 right now, sort of easing away. Look, did Piatek get around on Rixagrini?
Piatek is still P4. But Rixagrini has closed right up to Rice Budo, and
that's what it was. Yeah,
mistaken for Burkhardt. And wow, they're using so much racetrack on the entry to turn 5. All fair game there. You can't go too far off track, or it will score that as an off-track penalty. But you can use all the width of the rumble strips here. Now, relatively soon, I've been told that iRacing is working their way around and updating all the old tracks with their new rumble strip technologies. So I don't think we'll be abusing those rumble strips too much in the future. But today, fair game.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, you know, his approach down through 5, we've seen him do that from the very first time. He is sort of a master of opening up the radius into corners at Lime Rock, coming through West Bend and runs wide on the grass and just stays out there and uses that to open the entry into the diving turn. What he does here in 5, it's all those little tricks, but when you're on the pavement as well, you've still got to be pretty solid, and he has proven he is with 3 consecutive championships last year. Look here at Cam Evan, who lost a lot of ground, qualified I think in 10th.
Yeah, he got kind of shuffled off in the opening corner, but he has not rebounded as well as I would have thought. At Watkins Glen, I wouldn't say he was an overdog, but he was fighting up there consistently for the win, and today so far only 15th. We'll see if he can go quick enough to catch the pack ahead of him. It contains pretty much everybody from first down to 14th.
Yeah, and Camden Hibbett, you can see right there, 5th car in this train. So we've got the 3 team cars, the PRG cars, with outliers between them here. And Camden really came good last race at Lime Rock, really showed all the pace, speed, racecraft that we know he's capable of here. But it's going to be interesting to see what Nathan Nicholson could do. We've only seen him that once, as you said. Really impressive, though.
Everyone's playing the game so far, and that's expected. Working lap number 3 now as we start that 3rd lap. Everyone's playing the game, behaving. Everyone's tucked in line. Give it a few more laps. I think things will change a bit. Just to note that my lower thirds have erroneously stopped working from a glitch on the start, so we'll have those fixed for race 2. But for the time being, you'll have to trust me that we're talking about the person we're talking about.
And here's the interesting thing. You've alluded to it a lot here, right? We've completed 2 laps, and 6 minutes of this race is gone. That's how fast this happens. And you've got 14 counted corners, and there's probably 20, really. You think about all the little flicks and the like. If you're off by, an eighth of a tenth in each of those corners, that's going to really show up in a lap time here because this is so long. And that's where the difference can be made. And this is that train I was talking about at the very open of the show as Piatek moves over, and he's trying to make the move. He's down inside Rick Zagrini. Rasputo gives him a little bit of room so that they don't touch. And Piatek respected that nicely, didn't try and stuff it up underneath Rasputo, and they all continue on. It's such a long run, and you're driving through so many windshields.
Trace Hance.
Spin by Trace.
Yeah, down at turn 5, and there's some damage on the nose of that car as well.
Yeah, I can see that little wrinkle. Yeah, big old smudge up there. See what happened here.
Gonna get some assistance from Cam Evan. Goes down the inside, and ooh, that's ugly.
Oh, that's not a fun way to get ushered off there. And if for Cam, just misjudged that pass a little bit, thought there was going to be more room.
Yeah, he hits the brakes and the car just kind of shoots straight. I don't think he meant to do that, but the track curves to the left there, and as he hit the brakes, the car straightened out, and that's what caused that collision, unfortunately, for the 155 and for Trace Hance, the 53, so he is out of this one.
Yeah, and it's a shame Trace having in the real world racing world. I got ahead of myself there. It really has been impressive. With a sweep recently at Cabin Fever here in Sebring in the Sark opener. So nice job. Look at this. Nicholson underneath on Rick Zagrini. This is a great battle for that 4th spot. Rick Zagrini looks to have position. Skip Brock in the yellow OPM car behind, trying to decide who he's going to go with here. And you come through turn 14. You better get things settled in a hurry at turn-in because you do not want to be scrubbing any momentum there.
Well, already look at that little battle that's opened up about 0.8 of a second between Piatek and Rick Zagrini, and that's almost enough for those front 3 to break off and make their own fight. And it's not very fun to run for 4th after you get separated like that. So they've got some decisions to be made. Skip Brock Jr. is going to drive to the left, now drive to the right. Left, right, over, under on Nicholson here. He can't get the overlap to make the pass just yet.
Yeah, and Soto was doing the opposite thing at the same time, just swinging the other way, looking for any opportunity, and at the end of it, it all got nulled out anyway. And you can see now Soto trying to go to the outside there of Camden Hibbett, and could not quite make that pass work.
Long run down the straightaway again. I think Rasputo and Piatek are going to try to capitalize on this moment and separate themselves a bit deeper in the field. How about 11th place, Jamison Huffman and Dean Dibdahl? This is for 11th, and they're kind of in no man's land here a bit. They could tack onto the 10th place battle if they could gain about 2.6 seconds.
And that's Andrew Gilliland behind in that lavender-ish kind of car, and then behind him comes the 80 of Wozencroft. And there is young Mr. Gilliland doing a really nice job as always. And Evan way off down there. So obviously perhaps just a little bit of a touch. And another car spearing off into the barrier as well.
That was Rich
What
Green.
happened here, Kyle?
And he just kind of ran off the road himself.
Oh, he sure did.
And then Rich Green in the 22 comes in, and he's going to get tacked by the 123 of James Newell. That's who that was there.
And that inside barrier there at turn 5 is always super uncomfortably close to the racetrack when that back end starts swinging around in 5. And it's so easy to have that happen and charge it. And of course, that run from 3 down to 5, called the Moraine Sweep, is one of the 3 incredibly fast places here. Obviously, that super long front straight would easily be quickest, except for the climb. And speaking of climbing, Piatek trying to climb up another spot here, down to the inside, and maybe going to get both of them. Burkhardt opens the wheel, gives him a little room. Rice Pudo chooses Piatek, gives him a little push. Oh, they touch, but everybody hanging on here. And Morgan, is he going to be able to do it? Nope, he cannot clear Piatek. Piatek has position down here to 14, and extremely smart, savvy move there by Morgan is he knew Piatek was going to be turning in a little early, was pitching a little tight, opened it up. Rice Pudo went right with him, and they might both be by Piatek by the time they get down to 1.
Almost erased their gap back to Nathan Nicholson. There was some hands-on driving back there as well. Heard some contact. I think Skip Brock Jr. bounced off of somebody, but here we go, 2 by 2 with non-teammates getting pushed by other teammates as they head down into turn 1. They're side by side for 4th place too. Look at this fight.
Oh, and Burkhardt somehow able to get between those two without any contact. And that is Camden Hibbett going way, or is that Camden in the way wide?
Yeah.
Or was that Schooler?
No, it was Schooler in the 110, you're right.
Yeah, exactly. He just missed his turn in, and you're 5 feet wide of the apex, you're 5 feet wide of the exit curve.
Well, in his defense, that's pavement now, so.
True, that is a good point, good point.
Old habits die hard, I suppose. Down into turn 5, the top 4 still nose to tail here as Jordan Rixigrini has reattached himself to the umbilical cord of his teammate Morgan Burkhardt. And look at this, 3 wide in the background as Soto lunges on the brakes into 5.
Nicholson diving as well underneath the yellow car of Brock. And now they're going to be side by each all the way up. And I think Nicholson's car is nosed enough ahead that Brock really doesn't have any option but to back out of it here. And then this continuing battle here with Dibdahl having a really good run. Is that Huffman, I think?
Yep, in the 37 right behind him.
Yep.
Dropped a tire off at the exit of 6, got away with that. Andrew Gilliland and Wozencroft are having a bit of a scrap for 12th place in the rearview mirror. Even down here, how about this side-by-side? Seth Spolman and Raymond Bleffin for 23rd place.
You got to love this, and this is one of those things that makes this place so much fun, is you can have these battles deep in the field. And I'll tell you what, this group with the 54 coming on, that's Ray Bleffin, then Jim Friedhofer, and Ginsburg is in this mix as well. Up and underneath.
Ooh, oh, little
that
contact.
Was Christian Rice. Oh! Ooh. For a second, thought that they, and look at that, talk about the announcer's curse.
Well,
I had got his last name out of my mouth, and he got tapped.
Yeah, just the, 16, or rather the 54 that ran wide there?
Yep.
No, that was Friedhofer in the 89.
Friedhofer ran wide, correct, yes.
And Skip Brock Jr.'s around in Canada corner.
No.
Big crash for the 32.
And that car is seriously wounded. What a shame.
Oh, one of the PRG cars was off ahead of him, and he gets squeezed and drilled by another. That was the 110 and the 108. Rick Sagrini was the lead car.
Yep. And he got totally unintentional. Look at that.
All three of the 4 PRG cars involved in that here. Oh, man.
And right there, Brock obviously checking up, hitting the brakes, trying not to get into Rick Sagrini. And Giancarlo Schooler, unsighted, had no place to go. I mean, what a shame for Skip. This is one of his best races.
Yeah.
Doing a superb job.
Unlucky for sure. Piatek leads this race. 15 minutes down, just about over 5 to go. And next time by will be 2 laps to go. So this is 3 to go now. And Piatek, Burkhardt, Rice, Spudo lead. Camden Hibbett's still tailing on this fight. And then Nathan Nicholson's not too far back either. A little bit out of the draft, but with some help from Soto, they could get there, especially when these front 4 continue to battle as we wind the laps down.
Yeah, and did you see what happened, why Rick Sagrini ran wide?
Yes.
Did he get shoved wide?
He got hit from Camden Hibbett, I believe. Watch right there at the bottom of your screen, right there. Hibbett tags Rick Sagrini, which is what pushes him wide. Actually, we'll probably get a really good perspective on the tailgate of the 108.
Oh, yeah, he sure did. Wow.
He goes off. He's got one tire in the grass, one on the pavement. Tries to rejoin. And then obviously the 110 of Schooler is kind of unsighted here. You can't really see through Skip's car. The cars, he's blind.
He's focused at the apex, and
he couldn't even see the 108 at all because the other cars were blocking it. Just unlucky, bad timing. How about this? This is for about 14th. Jordan Butler, Eric Grimm,
incredible.
Colin Weiss, Court Schmidt, and Michael Lauren all in this.
That is cut and thrust racing. Absolutely fantastic. And that's one of the great things about this track is, it's so quick, and you get into these packs here, and even if you're running well outside of the top 10, you still got a grin inside your fake helmet, and you are having an absolute blast back there. I know that when I was racing here and I was running an ITC in about a 30-car field, I'd be in the, upper 20s, low teens on occasion, and nowhere near the overall, and you couldn't wipe the grin off my face because you're having a fierce battle with whoever you're next to. That was close.
Rice Buda kind of threw the block there on Ibbett, and that woke him up for sure. That was very interesting, and game on here up the front.
Here's that super crucial turn 14. Ooh, Burkhardt, a big wiggle there. That was weird.
And the leaders
he
are
runs
off.
wide. Yep. And which way is Hibbett going to go? Is he going to be the good teammate? He's grinning. Look at him. He's going, oh, what do I do? What do I do?
I think he knows. Push the teammate. Think back to just last week. He kind of got taken out by a teammate. And here he is helping him down the straightaway, but you got to stay to the values of the team. They're going to go 3 wide with Rice Pudo looking up the middle. No way that was going to work. And he thought better of it.
Yeah, he tried to squeeze through, and there was nothing there. Piatek going to try and out-deep Burkhardt. Burkhardt way wide, but knows the, and then there's a little bit of a wiggle and a touch there with Rice Pudo, and just that fast, he's 4th. And look at Nathan Nicholson, the red 195 hunting. Oh,
he is hunting. He's got the crosshairs lined up on the buck right now. Out of turn 3 and down the back straightaway. Piatek leads. Burkhardt 2nd. Camden Hibbett almost took out Rice Pudo there through the center of 1, but they got it straightened out, and now becomes the highway down here. It's like the track, the road's driving to the track, long and straight. Here they go.
Hibbett completely off the track there on the grass in the run down the Moraine sweep, and here we go. Rice Pudo way down to the inside. He's through on Burkhardt, who's trying to run the middle lane as a defense. Nicholson slides up into 4th. Piatek around, hangs on at the outside. Rice Pudo's got just a little bit of overlap. Does he check up? He's going for it. And great track awareness by Piatek. Left the wheel open a little bit, gave him room. No contact, leads into 7.
And here's Nicholson on the outside. He's going to have the preferred line into turn 8, so he can move himself into 4th place now past Camden Hibbett. And there's Soto in the 77.
And that was precisely what we were talking about. Hibbett was sort of pinned to the inside in 7. He couldn't let the wheel open up and accelerate all the way to the outside. Nicholson was there. That gave Nicholson a little bit better exit speed, and he slides through. But then again, you see as they get into the braking zone side by side, that lead trio are gone.
Yeah, and I think Hibbett's not going to be stoked about this because he's going to have to work really hard. He's got a lap and a third, effectively, to get back to the front. And this might become its own mini battle if Nicholson decides to defend here. PRG logo's on this car. He is a teammate, so maybe that will be of assistance to him, but especially when these front 3 are still fighting, and 2 of the 3 of them are not actually all 3 of these drivers are not teammates, so long way to go still, about 5 miles.
Yeah, and then that, as you said, here's this trio, and then this 4-car, almost 5-car scrum behind them. And here's the question, Kyle. Piatek, you want to be the leading out of 14 to start the final lap?
No,
I wouldn't think so.
I don't trust myself making the pass either. It's a rock and a hard place here.
Oh, and he protects again. And that just slows you down coming out of here. He only used about half of that track at turn in, and you can just see the momentum and then a little bit of the draft. Here's the white. This is it, starting our final lap. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, making an 8-car train for the lead, Kyle.
Now everyone will be battling for second for a little while longer. Down the front straightaway, here comes, who's up on the outside? That's Burkhardt in the 40 with help from Nicholson. Rice Pudo on the inside. So the green and orange cars, not teammates. Pretty much everybody else in this front pack other than Soto is teammates. So it's going to be very tricky for Piatek and Rice Pudo to hold back this wave of incoming PRG cars.
And I think they understand that, and I think even though they're not, they're acting as teammates right now, and just trying to keep those PRG cars in abeyance at this stage, but easier said than done. Look at how close Burkhardt is. The run through the Moraine sweep. Piatek defending way down to the inside. Rice Pudo swings to the right. Burkhardt looks right, then back to the left behind Piatek. And let's see it now. Burkhardt, it's going to be 3 abreast in the braking zone. Kyle for 5. Burkhardt goes in, goes wide. Piatek comes down, and look at the momentum run around the outside by Rice Pudo.
There's so much just happened, and it didn't even change the running order. What?
Man.
Over, under, through the middle. Piatek back to the lead. Half a lap to go. Nicholson drops a tire in the dirt. Soto slots back into 5th place. It's still on up front through turn 7.
Oh, and Nicholson right now, he's sort of the outlier here in a way, because look at this, going into the kink, they're looking, or excuse me, into 8, they're looking. What are we going to do? Rice Pudo opens it up, but misses the apex a little bit, and that's going to give Burkhardt a little bit of a run here, but it's the longer way around, and that's what we've been talking about. Sometimes in these slightly underpowered cars, by design, that's how the rules are, it's better to run the shortest line. Now we make the run into the kink, and Soto has got company. Just tough to see there in his right shoulder, but they all straighten it out for the kink.
For the kink for the final time in race 1, and now becomes the drag race back to Canada corner. Here comes Burkhardt looking to the inside. That's the outside for that portion of the racetrack, but it'll be back to the inside in Canada corner. On the brakes, Piatek defends.
And that was really a savvy defense by Piatek. Now it's all about keeping the car on the track on the exit without losing any momentum. And Morgan Burkhardt, oh boy, into 13, into Billy Mitchell. That is a tricky place to try it. They're there. They touch once, they touch again. Now it's the move up into 14. Piatek now is defending through here. He's done that a couple of times. Burkhardt runs way wide. Back end snaps out. That may have been what Piatek was hoping for, but Rice Pudo, he's got help. I think Piatek's got it covered. We're 3 abreast in pairs of 2s. A lot of touching, Kyle. What's going to happen at the line? Cars sideways everywhere, and Piatek comes through. Wow.
That was insane, and a little hip and shoulder there post-checker flag. Holy cow.
Yeah, unbelievable. Road America.
I'll say.
And you just knew it was going to be so exciting starting this final lap. But we're not done here. That is Ray Blethyn on the back of Luke Law as they come up the hill here. And that's a battle for, what, 21st, 22nd? Back in the order, they are going at it. But you knew when we had 8 cars, essentially, going for the lead starting the final lap that we were going to have some sort of fireworks.
Yeah, I want to wait for the session to tick over just so I can look at these replays here so I don't get interrupted mid-replay. But, man, that was exciting stuff, wasn't it? And Piatek did everything right there. He allowed the 40 to get to the outside, and this is something that you can employ almost from oval racing, where if you're on the inside, I have all the control in the world to push you to the fence. You can't push me if you're on the outside of me there. So that was really, really great racing, and we'll take a look at it here in a moment. I think we'll try anyway.
All right.
Let's have a look. And this is, again, coming up the hill towards turn 14, and it was, I think, a very smart idea to stay drivers right here. Burkhardt threw some jabs at him.
Yep, he did.
Whoop, that's what I was waiting for.
That's what you were waiting for.
Try it again. Here we go.
And what I'm wondering is, did Piatek on those previous 2 laps, did he turn in early into 14, thinking I've got to figure out how to make this work, because that's probably what I'm going to have to do.
And right there,
it played out beautifully. Yeah.
Kind of ran him a little bit off the road there, and I cannot believe they didn't crash here as Nicholson got bounced from side to side. And then,
he was a pinball, wasn't he?
Yeah, and then right there, the 0-3 almost gets tagged, and then they're just bouncing off each other to the checkers. 4 wide there for a moment.
I know. Wow. Look at this. And they didn't crash. Unbelievable.
That is so cool.
And the official margin that I saw was 93 one-thousandths of a second.
Look at Nicholson, just back and forth, back and forth. This is crazy.
Yeah. Burkhardt saved Nicholson there.
Man,
that was incredible.
If I was working at a Mazda dealership, I'd be selling lots of body panels after that one. But
no kidding.
That is cool stuff to watch. What a race, Greg. That's only 1 of 2. We have another one coming up.
That's the first one, I know. Unbelievable. And Burkhardt looked like he was a little upset with Olivier, and I don't see why he would be.
Yeah, I mean, he got shuffled a little bit, but I don't think, I mean...
Well, he gave earlier through 13 better than he got, I thought,
Yeah, I agree with that. But again, emotions are high right immediately post-race.
Oh, of course, always, yeah.
It's so fun to watch, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, just the back and forth was incredible. Did we
phenomenal.
learn something, though, for that second race? Because Piatek, I think, did the perfect strategy to put Morgan on his outside so that he can just shuffle him off track a bit. The only thing I would have watched, that he should note for next time is that other group of cars was right there, and had they been a bit more formed up, they would have driven right by him.
I think so, and I think what kind of parked them a little bit was when Burkhardt came back on. He came on, gave a little wiggle, and I think everybody just kind of went, just enough. And in these cars, you're heading up that hill. That's a real momentum kill, and I think that paid off. But I'm dying to ask now at the end of the day, Piatek, about that. Was he practicing that move because he knew from the lead that was his only shot? If he did, man, did he execute it.
Yeah, so again, as we've always seen, Road America pops off on the last lap, but there was a lot of racing before that point. Think back a couple of seasons ago, Greg. We've done this track a handful of times now. It hasn't been quite like this. The level of aggression was a lot higher throughout the duration of the race. That's something we haven't seen, and I think it's a lot more important now to play the chess game to set up for that checkmate at the end versus just kind of waiting around for it to fall into line. And that positive aggression has made a very entertaining product here.
Oh, hasn't it? And do you think that has anything to do with that slightly lighter fuel load? So the cars are just a little more responsive, so you can be that little bit more aggressive?
Something's changed, and I think that's really one of the only things that has changed is lightening up the car. Again, these are 2,200-pound Miatas with a huge tank of fuel and the power pulled out. They were a little bit unruly before, but as we keep lightening the cars up season over season, they get more playful, they draft better, they brake later, they accelerate faster, so you have more options as a driver to put your car in position to win. I think that's what's allowing people. And actually, it's hard to sit in line with the draft that's as strong as this. It's a lot easier just to go out and take the run versus to hold yourself back. You said earlier, patience is a key. It is such a huge deal of winning a race at Road America and Miata.
Yeah, it truly is. And, you're right. As we get these cars a little lighter, they just get more lively, and that makes them so much fun. And what I love about this doubleheader format is we get to do it again. Do want to remind everybody, though, that this Thursday, the 22nd, is our next driver school, and at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Miami Homestead Road Course A. That's the full infield roval, not using Speedway 3 and 4. And, of course, that means the following Tuesday, that's where we'll be racing. So if you're a little rusty on Homestead, you just want to get a little bit more insight, got a great school for you. All you have to do is go to Full Send Sims and pick it up here. And I love that. Road America, America's National Park Speed. This place is just something else. And, the other part of it is, talking real world, obviously, that the management now, what they continue to do to this place, it is becoming more and more park-like, but a really, really nice park with fabulous facilities, and arguably some of the absolutely least healthy but most delicious racetrack food you can imagine.
I love the food here. I love being here. I'm really excited. Grid Life's got a big festival coming up this year at Road America, and I could not be more excited. This place just has an aura about it. I call it the Jurassic Park of Speed because the first time I ever went was for a World Challenge event back in 2020. I think you were there, actually, Greg.
I was.
And because the driver that I was following through the weekend crashed out early in practice and wasn't going to race, so my job on Sunday was effectively to be a spectator. So I walked through the forest over to the kink, and as I was walking through Lamborghinis and Mercedes AMGs, the sounds reverberating off of the trees. It was like nothing I'd ever experienced. I had these great videos from my phone of coming through a clearing and seeing a car rip by, and that's where I got that Jurassic Park of motorsports thing. I just love this place, and it's definitely one of the best racetracks on the planet, at least from an experience perspective.
Oh, it is. It is. And I bet just coming through the trees, seeing a car go by that could easily seem like a Velociraptor in feed mode.
Yes. It was
so cool.
A transcendental moment, I think, for me in working.
Good for you.
As a young person in motorsports, that was like, all right, this is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. In all my years, doing the TV coverage, I always tried to get our crews to do whatever they could to capture the at the track experience, because it's that ethereal moment and that visceral moment, even more importantly, when that car rips by and your hair stands up, or you're at a corner and you watch that massive pass happen from 200 miles an hour or whatever. That's what makes you a racing fan. And, there's so many spots at this track because of those speeds and then those tricky braking zones where you're watching the best in the world often, execute their craft within inches of each other at these massive speeds. It's just spectacular. It's the only way to put it.
I want to point out the wind. Look at those trees swaying, Greg. 14 miles an hour, almost 15,
Holy
15.
cow.
Look at this, 16 miles an hour. It's still going, 17. That's crazy gusty here. 18 miles an hour and climbing. If we can hit 20.
That's going to affect things here big time.
It will. It's not something that we typically talk about because generally you have full control over the weather in iRacing. You're going to have even more control in about a week. We'll be able to add full rain and everything as well. But a lot of times you don't see wind as a factor administrators or league owners really mess with. When you're using random weather, it's not typical to get a lot of wind like this, but almost 20 miles an hour on a 2,200-pound car, that is going to affect things at the very least. Might give you a big head or tailwind, Greg. Southwest, trying to think of that direction. That would be coming.
Well, yeah, that would be coming.
Yeah?
Say from turn 1 across to turn 6 in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
And so turn 1, you're going to get a little bit of a side blast that'll actually not be that bad. It's going to be pushing you. The one thing about that southwest wind is a lot of the areas where it would force you wide are kind of protected a little bit. So, but I think where you're going to feel it is that's going to be a headwind all the way up that hill, tailwind down the main sweep, and a side wind through that very protected Kettle Bottoms through the kink. There's so many trees back there. You don't get a lot of wind unless it's running right through there like a wind tunnel.
So a couple of cars will either start from the pits or are not going to start. Charles Vaccaro, Jose de las Casas, and Christian Rice-Pudo. Otherwise, we're going to have 33 drivers taking the green flag for this second race. I wanted to find where Deacon Greenfield is because one of the things he's got that I've always admired is he's got his virtual reality headset on, and I've only had a chance to try this a couple of times, but having VR, it's certainly a lot easier than having a huge array of monitors, and it puts you in the driver's seat. The reason why I think that's important at a track like Road America, knowing where the corners of your car are is really important, and I think you can do that much better in VR than you can on a screen.
And what I love is when he's racing, and even with those goggles, you still see him look up and through the corner with the goggles, and it like that. That was a mirror check, but that kind of thing. It's just fascinating to watch, and he wheels it pretty darn good. And we're getting around here, getting ready to go for this second one. That's a great look right there.
And it's even got the heat shielding on the wall there. It's like he's working on the engine bay of a Ferrari. But we're working our way down through the kink. Drivers' starting lineup is on the left. It's Olivier Piatek, Rice-Pudo, and Soto. How did he sneak through there and snag a podium out of all that? That kind of.
Well, I think while everybody was pinballing.
Yeah, he just snuck through there. I didn't know that he did. That was the highest he to run the whole race. It was on the last lap only.
Absolutely, yeah, he did a nice job. And, you think about it, we talked about Rice-Pudo, Rick Zagrini out front. Rice-Pudo doing the job, Rick Zagrini back a little bit. So Rice-Pudo's going to, at this stage, easing away a little bit in the points. But, with that great run by Soto, he came in here 6th in the points, and he's only 5 behind Morgan Burkhardt. And, Burkhardt finished 1 spot in front, I think, so he's going to open that up a little bit. But everybody, a lot of the people in that front bid in the points, remember there are drops allowed as well, and we're factoring in the drops into our point count, but that changes with each race, obviously. So this is going to be a fascinating points championship.
It is going to be a fascinating championship, but we're running out of rounds as well. We're getting close to the end of the season here. We have a couple more than we had in the past. But currently we're working round 7 of 10. We got Homestead, Miami, Road Atlanta, and Virginia International Raceway to finish out the season. That's what's coming up, but what's coming up right now is race 2 at Road America here, Greg.
And Barney's got the flag. We are waiting for the field to make that long climb. Somebody moving already, hit the wall. Now we're green. That was Cam Eben again. Boy, I'll tell you, he is really having a rough go here. And Piatek eases away as they get on the green, but keep an eye out here. Rice-Pudo right up alongside now. And a couple of guys looking. And again, Eben got tapped. He's off. This could be really ugly. And he's doing everything he can. Oh, then it snaps. He's going to come right across in front. Huge hit. Over he goes. That looked like it was the number 7 that got into him there. Greg Ginsburg. That was a huge hit, Kyle.
Yeah, we'll go back and look at that one in a bit. That was ugly for sure. It started poorly and then just continued to spiral and get worse, figuratively and literally. Now down the back straightaway, Piatek, Rice-Budo push bump drafting here, then Burkhardt, Soto, Nicholson, and the rest of the field out back there looking to driver's left.
Yeah, look at this now. Rice-Budo, for some reason, Piatek stayed to the right, and Rice-Budo said, well, I'm going to give this a go. And comes down the inside. Soto way on the outside trying the rim shot. Kept it on track, but, fortunately for him, Burkhardt gave him just enough room and they didn't touch. Now, up through this tricky turn 6, rest of the field streaming up here as well. So far, so good.
I'd say so. We've got, I would say, a brief moment. So let's go back and look at what happened here. So Cam was off on the inside on the start, but then what triggers this?
I think he got maybe a little...
Oh, he had pushed the car ahead of him, and it stacked him offline.
Yep.
And then he had it almost saved and corrected right here. Snaps back to the left in the dirt, back across the road, bam! That was Hayden Manis that he got into, and then there's Ginsburg and tumbled up over the fence.
Yep, and yeah, he was doing everything right, but the problem is you get way to the inside like that, that's not by any means even ground here, and he had that opposite lock and just hooked a little dirt mound or something, and man, it snapped him across, didn't it?
That's a bad feeling too. There's not much you can do after it snaps back to the left.
Yep, you're just a passenger at that point. And we got an interesting little break here between our top 3 and Rick Zagrini, who's fought his way up into 4th. But right now, we've got almost a second between Burkhardt and Rick Zagrini. That's going to close up here, I would think, pretty quick. Camden Hibbett locking onto the back of his teammate, Rick Zagrini there.
And behind him, Nicholson and Schooler lining up behind Josh Soto in the 77, who's one of the other odd men out, but he gets tagged there in the final corner and goes for a ride into the gravel.
Yeah, I thought at the last minute that Nicholson had, tried to slow down enough to not get into him, and there was that little bit of contact, no question.
There, just a tap.
Enough.
Great save, though. I mean, he kept the car straight.
That really was.
And the gravel caught him, and he keeps his foot in it and keeps rolling.
Yeah, didn't lose too much here. Andrew Wozencroft now coming up, looking to make a move as well on Soto. Has Soto got some damage? He's suddenly fallen way down the order.
Well, yeah, he got shuffled off in that last corner, but I don't think he just kind of got shuffled off track. I don't see any damage. Yeah, he should be all right. Might get some charging back through the field like that. That was a big lunge into turn 3.
Yeah, that was a deep, deep pass, and executed it. Now coming up on the back of the 91.
Lauren and Jordan Butler back there having a bit of a scrum for 15th place, and everyone's line astern again back here, but up front, 3-car breakaway, and Rick Zagrini is chopping that gap back down. It'll quickly be a 5-car breakaway, and that one might stick.
Yeah, he might be able to make that work. Meanwhile, that number 37 swinging around the outside. That's Jamison Huffman up into 8th right now, Kyle, having a nice run.
Yeah, end of the first race inside the top 10, and he's going to start there and continue his progress forward in race 2. But if Camden Hibbett, actually it's not Hibbett, it's Nicholson on back. If they can't assemble a bit of a charge party here, they're going to lose that front 5, because I think 3 of the top 5 are all PRG drivers, so that's going to...
Yeah.
I mean, they're all going to work together, I'd imagine.
And yeah, you would think here, obviously, that Giancarlo Schooler is going to just glom onto the back here at Nicholson and try and whittle away at that deficit just a little bit. But they're going to bring Huffman, maybe Dibdahl, and Gilliland. Another good run by the young man up into 10th right now.
Through the kink, watch the cars load up, just leaning left there on the suspension. No aero on these cars, really, so that's not helping. Get into some of the faster cars, open wheel and prototype racers, and you don't even really think twice about that corner. You just keep the foot planted, and the faster you go, the harder it'll stick. But these cars, you're leaning on mechanical grip only.
Yep, exactly. And what you're talking about with that aerodynamic grip, and that's why, even though I still get some stick for saying it, I call it false grip. Because, when you're going through the kink with aero-aided grip in an Indy car to buck 80, and that grip goes away, it all appears very false in a hurry.
Yes.
Ask a Catherine Legg, right? Ask how many drivers have had big offs back there. Man, when everything's working, it is magic to go through that corner.
And the track was repaved. Obviously, that is not yet represented here in iRacing, but the track was repaved last year, a little rough and tumble down here into turn one. But one of the things that was said was that the way it was paved and the fact that they had high downforce open wheelers test on it immediately after it was paved, it actually kind of formed the asphalt a bit because of how much load they were putting into the track. They made it very, very treacherous offline. And
yes.
If it wasn't challenging enough before, there's been some challenge added to it, at least for the time being.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, wide run there by Piatek. And, even though you don't lift, just that little bit of a bounce can kick your momentum, and you can see it right there. Rick Segrini, who's gone through on Burkhardt, is now coming down the inside and going for second here. And Camden Hibbett thinking, all right, is it Burkhardt? Is it Rick Segrini? Where do I go here? But Rick Segrini cleanly through, and I think just for a second thought, Bryce Pudo left that door open, and then Nick ran a little bit wide. And that's going to give Rick Segrini the inside line here. Side by side through six. Are they going to do it? No. And Bryce Pudo had to lift it. Here comes Piatek just that fast.
And Morgan Burkhardt back there as well. If he can get by the orange and green cars, he's lined up with his teammate and they can get out of Dodge. But Piatek and Bryce Pudo have done a nice job working together here, but they're not really being given the choice, being split by these PRG teammates, as Bryce Pudo is going to get very close to the edge of the road there as Burkhardt takes the outside line through the carousel. That'll be hard to stick.
It'll be hard to stick, and for Bryce Pudo, since he made that exit work, he had the wider arc through turn 8. And I always talk about that, but when you see momentum cars like this, the more you pinch your arc through a corner, the slower you're going to go, because even if you're not braking, you're scrubbing speed. And since Bryce Pudo didn't run wide and lose his momentum, he actually had a little bit more speed. And by the time it had to get settled going into the carousel, Morgan had absolutely no choice but to tuck in behind him. But look what Rick Segrini's doing out front.
I was just going to say, he kind of just lit the afterburners there and took right off the edge of the ship. See if he can keep it afloat now. Half a second and dropping as he didn't get a very good run through Canada corner there. And keeping an eye on Nathan Nicholson and Giancarlo Schooler. They have slightly separated from Huffman and back and slightly eaten into the advantage that Hibbett has. So I don't think these two PRG cars are totally out of it yet either.
No, and certainly once those guys, this group, start battling, I think these two certainly have a really good shot of quickly rejoining them. It's just when these real battles start here. Right now, it's almost more posturing, isn't it? I've got the run, I'm coming through, and you're not going to fight it too darn hard here. Now, look at this. We got four of them teaming up, and Rick Segrini drifting over to defend. Piatek saying, I'm going to do it anyway. Whoa. And dives down the inside, and then Bryce Pudo recognizing, and a touch there, and that got Rick Segrini really wide, and through comes Burkhardt, and there's almost three abreast at the exit of one, Kyle.
Yeah, that got it more exciting. And again, this is, thinking back to what we said between the races, this is so much more aggressive in the early stages of this race. I know we're almost halfway done, but in previous seasons, it didn't seem like anybody wanted to do much until the last lap or two. This has been a race the entire time. Posturing, as you put it, but yeah, they're putting themselves in position a lot earlier than they would have in the past.
And look at that deficit now, just that little exchange. Look where Nicholson and Schooler are. They are now basically inside, half a second at this stage. And look at this move. Piatek going to get double freight trained. Burkhardt is through, and Rick Segrini down to the inside. Boy, I'll tell you, things change in such a hurry here. Oh, and Bryce Pudo, man, did he get into the back of, was that Camden Hibbett?
Yeah.
Trying to keep his momentum alive.
So Piatek hangs on to second. He was about to lose second and third because Rick Segrini and Hibbett were right there, but Rick Segrini didn't get a great exit out of 5, gave that spot back. And now it's teammate, not teammate, 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 teammate. 6 of the top 7 are on the same team together. Not good news for
Piatek's nervous.
Yeah.
I was going to say, there's this great run through the carousel. And it's just, it's a treat in anything you're racing. But man, when you watch the really fast guys and the super quick stuff go through there, it's just mesmerizing.
Saying hunting earlier, this is like a hunting convention with one deer left on the property. They're all going for Piatek.
Yeah, exactly.
All teaming up. Friendly fire won't start till lap 8, though, I don't think.
a very wide-eyed deer at that.
Yeah.
All right. Nice move there by Piatek to get away from Morgan's bumper before they get into the braking and turn-in part of Canada Corner. Named basically because the joke was you were going so fast into there and you were so close to the Canadian border, if you went off, you might not stop till you got there.
Yep.
So,
no customs check down there either. You clear the fence with the speed you got. I've seen some cars wreck really bad over there, just straight off. And there's runoff there, and it feels like a lot when you're doing a track walk, and then you do it in a car. Man, that wall's only like 50 feet from here. I'm doing 130 going down in here in a Miata, let alone a 700 horsepower prototype. I cannot believe.
Oh, absolutely. I've seen a couple corner working down in 12 in like IMSA races. I've seen, prototypes, have brake discs explode. And, I mean, it's just unabated down in there. It's crazy. And this battle at the front is downright crazy right now. Ooh, Nicholson a little wide there. I don't think that was because Rice-Puto dove underneath him. I think he just was watching his mirrors because he's got Schooler all over him, and I think he just missed his turn in. Didn't hurt him too much.
Such a neat and tidy line that will soon be scribbled here in a short time. Working lap 5 of 8 with 8 minutes to go. It's just amazing how these laps, there's really not that many of them, and 8 minutes left is about 4 laps and 3.5 now as we work our way down the back straightaway. Burkhardt still has the field under his control in the rear view, but here comes Rice-Puto. He is not satisfied sitting back here in 4th.
There you see Burkhardt with that super wide throw and a nice sudden move there by Rick Zagrini, as you could tell that Piatek was trying to somewhat emulate Burkhardt with that wide entry, and Rick Zagrini just squared up to the inside, surprised Piatek. Piatek should have position here, unless Rick Zagrini gets real brave around the outside. He does not, tucks in, and here comes Hibbett side by side, but he's going to be on the wrong side for the turn 8 run here. This is just fascinating stuff, and through we go. Rick Zagrini, Hibbett still side by side.
Yeah, still there.
That was crazy.
And Hibbett will be the next one to take on Piatek here, and Rice-Puto is going to follow Hibbett through past Jordan Rick Zagrini. So the hunter becomes the hunted, and Rick Zagrini is down to 5th.
And keep in mind that gray car with the orange and black and the blue and the black and white one with the blue wheels behind him. Those are your 2-point leaders right now. Rice-Puto leading by 7 as we came in to the first race here. So we'll see what happens after this second one. But those two, that's your points battle for the lead right now. Burkhardt living up to what he was talking about, that this isn't done. If we can put together some wins with the drops, this is still possible.
Nicholson just blitzed right by Jordan Rick Zagrini, shoves him back to 6th. So that 108's got to stop the bleeding here pretty soon.
Yep. And just so everybody realizes, top 9 right now covered by less than 2 seconds. That's exceptional. Look at Dipdahl dive inside Soto here.
Now, where did he come from? Well, there's your answer.
What
10th.
a move.
At the 8th, and that was one of the spots he's gained, and he's right in the midst of this fight. How about who's right back there? Is that Wozencroft in 12th? It sure is.
Yes.
Andrew Gilliland in 11th too. They're having great days.
Yeah, and Jamison Huffman was really strong in that first race, and he's backing that up as well. So we have a look here at Andrew, and I love it. He could easily be trying to do the paddle shift thing, and he's got the gated shifter with the heel and toe. It's a beautiful thing. We do miss seeing Beans Forrester with his heel and toe cam. He's on a business trip and not able to race, but man, we miss seeing that. And I understand it was Pickle something socks.
It was. I guessed correctly. Pickle Rick.
You did.
Yeah,
Pickle Rick.
I didn't know the character, but I had the noun down at least. So.
Well, the vegetable anyway.
Yeah, I suppose. Are pickles? I suppose they're a vegetable. And I don't think they count as their own. But here comes. Oh, look at Camden Hibbett to the inside.
Oh, yep.
And this is on Piatek again. And look at Nicholson.
Oh, Nicholson. He's trying to come from Milwaukee suburb to make that pass.
Got it though. Past Rice-Puto at least.
He got through on Rice-Puto. Now he's got to defend big time.
That was 1 and 2 moves there. Got to be careful with that. And I always say, throwing a block is a very self-policing policy. You do that one too many times, and the driver behind you will let you know, and so will the concrete wall.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a 1-2 punch. And the thing is there's the argument you move and then you move the same direction a little bit more. No, I just hadn't completed the move yet. Yeah, right.
Well, I think the one that I see a lot is, went to defend, fair game, and then move back to the racing line.
Yes.
That also can be constituting a block if you're moving in reaction. So I think he's fair game so far, but something to keep an eye on here as things get intense in the rear view. And again, we're coming to 2 laps to go, so your time is running out. Your hourglass is running out of granules at the top there, Greg, so go, go, go.
Absolutely right it is, and right now Burkhardt Piatek would love nothing more than to be able to make this break, but I just don't see that happening. Hibbett, Nicholson, the way Nicholson's been going, as you can see right here, Piatek giving Morgan the big tap, trying to launch him a little bit and just try and make a little bit of a break, and then tracking him through there beautifully. But just what we've been seeing from Nicholson here, he just seems to be able to run these gaps down, and he's pretty much caught almost the back of Hibbett here. Yeah,
and again, could be a bit of a wild card. Joined the season pretty late. Points aren't really on his mind. I think the goal is wins, and he's got 28 corners to sort out how to snag one from somebody here. Piatek, though, in a different spot than he was the first race. He's now second in line. I wonder how much this changes his calculus, if he'd rather be leading and do what he did last time, or if he'd rather try from the runner-up spot here and try to go by Burkhardt on that last lap.
And do you want to be runner-up, or do you want to be third? And get that, hope for that double. There's so many different machinations here. You never know which one's which. And look at Piatek. He's trying to just drive by the outside. He's going to stay a little wide here. Doesn't lose anything. Might give Hibbett a run down into 3. So we have 2 to go. And Nicholson getting a big shove by Rice Puto. Thinking about it, was not on the right line. And you can see how early he had to brake there, Kyle, and that is exactly what we keep talking about. When you tighten your radius through a corner by not using the whole track, you got to brake sooner. You can't accelerate as soon coming out.
I don't know if I want to be leading.
Look what it did to him there.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to be leading second or third. I do know that I want to be in the paddock holding the trophy post-race, and however I get there is fine by me. But again, I think this is not the predictable race that we had seen in seasons past, where you always wait to turn 14. We saw Piatek successfully defend the lead there, but he had to get the elbows out, get the hip and shoulder going, and we'll see if Burkhardt plays the same game here.
Yeah, and I think what still made that defense work by Piatek in that first race was Morgan going off and coming across with that little wiggle, and everybody, even if you try not to, there's just that little moment there where you hesitate, and it just packed him up, and then we saw everybody pinballing behind him here. I don't know if it would have played out that way had he not been able to, or had Morgan not run wide like that. So we're going to see what happens here. And again, Nicholson he's about 3/10 behind Hibbett, and just can't quite close it up. And even with, I think at this point we're still seeing Rice Puto. He's not racing Nicholson. He's trying to shove him forward. But those 3 guys up front are just throwing down some laps right now, Kyle.
Well, typically I'd say you couldn't win from 5th, but based on the first race, I think you might. So I don't think Rice Puto's in a bad spot here. I would almost be willing to kick back, pull out a lawn chair, and watch what happens with these front 4 on the last lap, because maybe the door will open and you can drive right through it. But we'll see how this changes things. Into Canada corner for the penultimate time.
Well, and how many times with that pack behind Piatek going up the hill to the flag did we see 2 or 3 wrecks that just didn't happen? So you get one guy hitting a leader just the wrong way in a defense, and it can all go crazy. So yeah, I think you got a good point. And look at that, Nicholson now is there, as is Rice Puto, Rick Segrini, Schooler, and then Dibdahl, and at this point even Soto still in this lead group, if you will, as we are coming up the hill. Last lap of our second race of the doubleheader, and here we go. Piatek already moving. Nicholson going with Piatek, as you'd imagine. Hibbett going with Burkhardt. This battle is on.
Yeah, we would not have seen this in previous seasons.
No,
making this pass on the straightaway leading to the final lap. That is a surprise. Teammates all on the inside. Morgan's got some internet issues as Piatek runs into the gravel.
Oh man, I wonder if that was partly because he got caught out by that internet glitch, or was it just too much speed going in?
Just too hot, it would look like.
I think so too, just a little wide. And just that quickly, now he's at the back of this queue, and it's the teammates, Burkhardt and Hibbett. And now, is it going to be Rice Puto, or is it going to be Nicholson? Rice Puto's got Rick Segrini helping in terms of the attack right now.
Each got a PRG car pushing them. Actually, all 3 of the front runners up here do, Burkhardt included. But not a big push there from I think that was a big hit. Look out, look out, look out. Down into turn 5. Late on the brakes goes Nicholson. That's going to shove out Rice Puto into the grass, but that was almost disaster there.
That was a huge save, and I mean, by Nicholson catching it as soon as that car straightened up to be savvy enough to grab just enough brake to avoid that contact. Schooler running wide at the exit of 6. Now down through 7. Flowing so much speed and a touch there, and off goes Piatek. He's not going to hit anything, but he's going to lose another, couple of spots.
Down to 9th.
Yeah,
and Hibbett now 4/10 back from Morgan Burkhardt, and this is a bit of a gap. He's going to have some work to do. I don't think he's going to have a lot of pressure from behind, but think back to last week, Greg, who stole a win away from Camden Hibbett.
Yeah, absolutely.
He apologized. I don't know if that means a lot for Hibbett, though. It's game on.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I know I'm the new team boy, but wow. Last lap now, you got to expect the same. Rice Puto a little wide of the apex there, and the kink. You see the car sliding as a result, and they've lost momentum. Nicholson popping to the outside, sensing that little loss of momentum here, and Burkhardt protecting to the inside over Hibbett. Hibbett's going to try the over-under here, try and get the drive out, and smart move. Morgan, so savvy. He moved that car to the right a little bit on the exit, went right where Hibbett was thinking. Now Hibbett's going to try and come up the outside. This is going to be interesting.
Last corner, he's going to have to set him up. And behind him, here comes Rice Puto with a big dive. Nicholson's behind him trying to deny it. There's a push and a shove. Now we'll run up to the checkers. Hibbett's going to have a big run. Where does he go? Into the grass.
He's into the grass. Burkhardt forcing him all the way over here. Hibbett having none of it. They touch. Oh, how did Hibbett not get the end of that guardrail? Or that concrete barrier? Here we go, side by side. It is Hibbett just missing on the win from Burkhardt with that little bit of contact. Nicholson pipping Rick Segrini, and Rice Puto coming home in 5th. Oh my.
Wow, that was cutthroat there between the teammates at the end. We'll watch that again.
Yes, it was.
They have, the rules of engagement have been established at PRG, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're buddies up until the last 2 laps.
If that.
Yeah, great point. Wow.
He took him all the way to the pit lane entry.
Here he goes. And I guess Morgan would say, well, I was moving over to defend. That wasn't in reaction.
That is.
Yeah.
He's got overlap right about here, but
yep.
He just keeps his foot in it. Look how close he gets to the wall. Oh, my God.
There's the touch. Look at that. And then another big wiggle. How did that last wiggle not kill every bit of momentum Morgan had up to the line?
Oh,
that one. That was right there.
I can't believe.
Because I think that was a code contact. Because he moved dramatically. This one was legit.
I'm going to give him an A+ for effort here. This is.
Oh, heck yeah.
Up the hill in the grass, he tried it, and honestly, I'm surprised he didn't hit the tire bundles. I'm even more surprised that wall, if it wasn't angled like that, he wouldn't have made it. Look at that. That is crazy.
Yeah, and right there you can see that was where Morgan swerved, and I think it got close enough where there was that little bit of code contact, and it gave him that big wiggle, and yet he was able to hang on. But, boy, talk about opportunistic, Nathan Nicholson. He was in it the whole time, and, when he saw an opportunity for the podium, he figured it out and went through. That was a great drive.
It certainly was. Here's a look at your race results. It was a handful of teammates. 4 of the top 5 all PRG drivers, Rice Puto, then John Carlos Schooler's 5th and 6th. Dean Dibdahl grabs a top 10. Great run there for the 99, Greg.
Yeah, he kept it really clean. It was really effective. Didn't get caught out in anything. When Piatek had his big moment, dropped back, slipping to 8. Soto just not close enough to be able to do anything. How about a top 10 by our young man, Andrew Gilliland? What a talent he is. Andrew Wozencroft, one of his better races. I thought really nice job. Jordan Butler. Ayrton Grimm came from way back in that first race to get a decent finish in it. And then look at that charge up into 13th. Skip Brock has deserved better than this here today. Colin Weiss rounding out your top 15. And Deacon Greenfield, good first race, struggled a little bit in this one.
Yeah, looking down the rest of the order, some drivers that weren't quite in that front draft, but this is where the troubles begin. Trace Hance, bad night for him, unfortunately. Raymond Blethen. Greg Ginsburg got caught up in that early crash. Court Schmidt didn't see what happened to him, but he was out
me either.
A lap down. Rich Green, collision for him as well. And whoops, come on back. And like a truck driver, come on back. And then down at the bottom here, Cam Eben disastrous night in comparison to Watkins Glen, but gave it all he had. Can't fault him for that.
Yeah, it wasn't for lack of effort.
No.
He just, everything he tried seemed to go wrong, and tough day for him. We know just how quick he is, so I'm sure he's going to be a bit upset about that. But I'll tell you, that was two awfully entertaining races.
It was fun to watch. Olivier Piatek finished in 8th in the second race, but won the first race. And, man, the defense that you showed that last lap was just simply unbelievable, Olivier. But 8th place in race 2 didn't quite pan out 2 times in a row. Lightning didn't strike twice, but a great race in that first one for sure.
Yeah, race 1, we just had to plan get to the front and just try and maintain that position. So I had an opportunity to go to the front, maybe lap 3 or 4, and just went to the front. Morgan wasn't planning on passing me too quickly, so it was working out pretty good. The last lap, I just parked on Apex and maintained what I could. Race 2 was just so unlucky. It was complete net code. I mean, I gave him like 2 feet of room, and all of a sudden my car is steering off track, and just sucks. Something I could have done there. But yeah, it's racing, it happens.
Well, it was an absolutely fascinating race to that point. And, 2 questions for you. One, the previous 2 laps before your final run through 14, you were turning in like from mid-track, turning in quite early and protecting. Were you trying that to see how you could make it work, thinking if I'm in the lead, that's my only hope?
Which corner is 14 again?
Last one.
Oh, yeah.
Getting up the hill.
It kind of works. If I turn in early, I can use the grass, and it gets me a good exit, and that's what I was doing all race. And I can go up the hill and just stay on the inside, and they just can't really go anywhere, and it was working out really well.
Well, it sure did, absolutely, in that first race. And the other thing Kyle was talking about, normally when we've raced here before, we wouldn't see these kinds of battles until, the last lap, maybe halfway through the second to last lap. Here we were seeing battles from mid-race on. It was getting real testy and real racy. What's different? Why is that happening?
It's crunch time in the championship. All the front runners want to get all the points they can get, and also this track just breeds crazy racing. It's huge draft trains. You can't really break draft, so honestly, if you don't go for a move, you get sent backwards.
Well, yeah, and you went all the way to the front in the first one, and it looked like you were well poised again in race 2, but for a little net code. Great weekend. I should say great Tuesday night for you here, Olivier. We've been waiting for this one. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. See you next week.
You bet.
Thanks, Olivier. We're going to move on now here to Nathan Nicholson, who grabbed a podium in race number 2. It was a fierce fight out there tonight, Nathan. Teammates around you, but it got physical at the end. 5th in race 1, 3rd in race 2. Didn't quite pan out for you on the white flag lap when everything broke out. Take us through just carving your way through and finding your way up to the 3rd spot after starting in 5th.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have the best qualifying. I think it was 13th, but we changed that quickly, and I knew race 1 was important to get a good starting spot for race 2. But, it's this track's unique. It was all about the timing of when people wanted to pass and when people were going to hold back and taking advantage of that. And I think I did that well, on the getting Jordan and Nick on those last couple laps and moving up to the podium. So, good race.
Well, you were very opportunistic. There's no question about that. And there was a point there where you dropped back by a little, maybe a second and a half. You had Giancarlo Schooler on your tail, and you guys just worked your way up to it to be in a position to take advantage of anything that might have unfolded.
Yeah, I really felt like my pace wasn't great. We were good in a pack where everyone was checked up, but when we were in free air, it was a little difficult. Me and JC hooked up, and we were running the same laps as the leaders, which was about all we could ask for, considering they were a bigger pack. But as soon as they started fighting, me and JC were right there to take advantage of it.
Yeah, you were, and this was really only your second race. Now you've had 4 races, and won one of them, a podium, a couple of top 5s. I hope we see you in this championship for the rest of this season and for full seasons to come. It's just fun to watch you race.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, hopefully, obviously not in the championship battle this season, but we'll see what the schedule pans out for next season, what we can do.
Yeah, that would be fabulous. Thank you for being here.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
And Nicholas Rice-Puto came home in 2nd in race 1. Almost had that one, too, with a big run coming up the hill. 5th place in race 2. Got shuffled out towards the end. Nicholas, take us through your night tonight, because lots of hip and shoulder, but it was so much fun to watch.
Yeah, it was hectic. That was one of the toughest FSS races I've done, for sure.
It looked like it. I mean, and I said it at the top of the show here, when you race onto the podium here at Road America, you earn it. And you were just in the wars here. And even more apropos, you and Rick Zagrini are like 7 points apart coming into tonight. And with the finishes you guys have, that championship is staying super close. You thinking about that at all at this point, or are you just going for wins?
No, I'm thinking about the championship. Obviously, I'm not gonna. If I get taken out in one of the races, then it, could screw those chances. So I'm trying not to do that.
Well, that's, a savvy thing, and, that's one of the things that racers sometimes don't learn quick enough, is you got to look at the big picture every once in a while, and you have just been super consistent, always earning points, and absolutely another great night for you. Congratulations.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks for the great show. I can't wait to watch it.
It was a fun one. Thanks, Nicholas.
You're going to enjoy it.
All right, moving on now to Camden Hibbett, and man, it is just so close every single time, Camden. This was a really fun one to watch tonight. But you started in 6th, that where you finished in race 1, 2nd place in race number 2. I thought you had it, and man, he got Burkhardt ran you to the grass. You kept your foot in it all the way to the pit wall. I cannot believe he didn't knock over a section of concrete there. You come home in 2nd. Like last week, came up 1 short. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's racing. We're racing hard for the win. That's nothing that I think it's a racing deal. We've talked about it, and it's same thing as last week. We were both going really hard for a win. We both know how hard it is. Well, not for him, but it's hard to get a win in the series, and I was going for it, and I definitely thought I had more overlap on him before we got to the grass. That's definitely why I put it down there. Looking back on it, I had a little less than I thought, but like I said, just going for a win, and other than that, it was a pretty clean race. I made a mistake coming to the checkered. I tried to go 4 wide instead of pushing one of my 2 teammates, and didn't play out for me or any of my teammates, so I apologize to them for that. But overall, good points week. It was lots of fun tonight.
Yeah, and I mean, you're now consistently right up in this battle for the podium, and it's great to see. I just have to ask you, as you're coming up the hill, you're in the grass, you're not lifting, and you got a car right to your left, and you see that big yellow stripe on that 8,000-pound concrete block coming up. What are you thinking?
That's a great question. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know why I put myself in that situation to be thinking that. No, it was. I knew I was pretty much committed to what I had. Looking back at the replay, it was way closer than I thought it was. Holy crap. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. Yeah, that was way closer than it needed to be. Oof. Okay. Yeah, I have no words for that. Yeah, I'm speechless. That was way closer than it definitely needed to be and should have been.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was sure fun, and then Morgan did a couple more bobbles up the hill. I thought that might have scrubbed enough momentum for you to be able to sneak through, but it just didn't quite happen. But absolutely fascinating racing, and we're just seeing the aggression really starting to heat up here a little bit, and it's making this racing absolutely fabulous, isn't it?
Yeah, we're all so close at this point. Anybody in the top 10 can win these races now, and it's really making everybody just be that much more aggressive. You're seeing the teamwork for a while, and then with about 5 minutes left, it's kind of all bets off, especially when we're up at the front. We got a breakaway. Same thing, we did this. We were racing hard for the win at Lime Rock, me and Morgan, and same thing this week. We had a breakaway. We were trying to guarantee a 1-2, and didn't end up working out last week, but we were able to hang on to the 1-2 for PRG. I don't know how. I know Nathan was 3rd. I think Jordan was 4th. So really good, strong run for the end of this week for Team PRG. And yeah, like you said, it's getting really aggressive. We're getting down towards the end of the season, and that's how you're gonna have to start making moves. And I think it's just going to get even more fun as we progress into the final weeks.
I think you answered this question, but I was going to ask, are you surprised at how cutthroat your teammates are, especially Morgan, when you get into these last few laps, at these tracks, because there is absolutely no quarter given?
Yeah, I think we're all that way. We're all going, like I said, we're all going for a win. We all want to win. I know I'm in the championship. I don't know if Morgan still is, but I know he's making a big comeback after missing the first 2 or 3 weeks. We all want to win this championship. There's so many good drivers in here. It means a lot to not only win, but win the grand prize and get a championship at the end of a full Sims season. It means a lot, and like I said, it's up first 15 minutes, we're going to work together, see if we can get a breakaway. But after that, it's game on. We all want to win. We're all really aggressive. And hopefully it's creating some really fun racing to watch for you guys.
Oh, it's an absolute blast to watch. It's even more fun to call. Our heart rates are up there as well. Thanks, Camden. You guys are just put on such a great show.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Camden. And Morgan Burkhardt comes home in first place in the second race of the night. Fierce fight with a teammate week in, week out, Morgan. That was a fun one to watch. Got a little physical right at the end there. And, man, Camden almost creamed, as Greg put it, an 8,000-pound barrier. But a drag race to the stripe, you win it by a 10th. Take us through that last lap.
Well, I saw what Oliver did in the first race and was like, you know what, I can probably replicate that. I mean, he did a really good job in defending and put the car in all the right spots. So I learned something from that. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to go out and lead. I'm going to kind of control the pace once you get down to the latter half of this race and really see what I can work. And, you know, I played it right, and it worked into my favor that I could kind of slow Camden up, because I knew that going into turn 5, he was going to try and over-under me. So I just broke super early to make him break even earlier and harder. And then that backed him up into Nathan, who went for the move. Didn't make it stick, but then I had 0.6 of a second, and I could just kind of coast through the rest of the lap and save some tire for the last corner. Really roll through it, and he got a better run off the corner. And I just kind of slowly came over, and it was like, if I give you grass, we're going to play a game of chicken here. So you're either going to back out and go behind and try and draft around me the other way, or you're going to meet a wall. And, you know, we're getting down to the point in the season where I don't have as much to lose as I have in previous seasons, and I kind of got to get the elbows out and really see what I can do to cut into the points lead. So yeah, we got a little feisty, and I'm happy that he didn't end up in the wall, and we came home 1-2.
Yeah, that was absolutely some fierce cutthroat racing, and of course that makes it so exciting. And you get another win here and at Road America, which is always something very special. Morgan, congratulations. You are chipping away at coming back at this one in the points, man. Well done. Great fun to watch.
Thank you very much. Only 35 points to go.
Yeah, baby.
Thanks, Morgan.
Thank you.
And Greg, wrapping things up for the night. What a battle we saw. Road America never disappoints. I want to do it again next week, but we can't. We have to move on to the next round. It just was unbelievable. We're back at Homestead, Miami next week, Road Course A, but it's going to be hard to top this week.
Oh, man, it absolutely is. It is so fun here at Road America, obviously. Miami, Homestead, Road Course A, it's going to be fun. And the other ones that we're going to be having, Road Atlanta, VIR, some great stuff yet to come. So much more yet to come in this championship. Again, a huge thank you to Court at Full Send Sims, and to Frank at 3P Logistics, and Rob at Final Turn Motorsports, and of course Wine Country Motorsports for their support as well. And to Finney and DeCuna doing another great job on the cameras here. And for Kyle, I'm Greg Creamer. Thanks so much for joining us here from the wonderful Road America. Next weekend, Homestead Miami Speedway, the full infield Roval. It should be great fun. We'll see you then. Until then, take care, everybody. Oh, remember, Miami Homestead School this Thursday night. FullSendSims.com. Sign up.